Hey everyone, welcome back to the only podcast that isn't afraid to tell you that your favorite fitness influencer is probably wrong. Serve Straight with Papi and Sky. Before we get started, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and push this podcast out because we're trying to get good information out there that you can actually use. I'm your co-host, Ian, aka Anabolic Papi, and as always, I have with me the man that is living proof that if you eat your greens and vegetables, you'll get huge. Skylar Matthews. How we doing, Sky?
Yo, we're doing good, man. Hey, man. So I have this pretty epic video for you, bro. So it's by, first off, let's kind of preference this. So this video is by people called the Middle Ground, right? So what they do is they take interesting topics and interesting situations, and they put both people who are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. In this case, we have fat versus fit, and they go in, my guy. They go in.
So now, they literally take people on both ends, and the middle ground is this battleground of a topic.
They try to reach this like epic middle ground. Do they do it? It depends on the video and who actually are sitting down there. This one's interesting. So we got some pretty hot influencers on both ends of the spectrum, although we're probably more familiar with the fitness side, obviously, but they do have a couple of fats, and that's not a derogatory term. That is fat influencers. This is kind of what they're known for. All right, bro. So really quick, man. So the first topic is, so we have two topics. Now this video in and of itself is like an hour and 8 minutes long, and that's because it could have been even longer. They have like Patreon,
the fats had to eat. That's probably what it is. Yeah.
They had to eat. And then the owner, I'm not familiar with his work per se, because obviously this popped up fitness, all that stuff. But we have two topics in that. So, but I don't even want to address it. Let's just get into the video, bro.
All right. Let me add this video to the stage and you control.
All right. Sweet. Sweet. So
do you think just being in a fat body and being in the public space encourages obesity?
Yes.
Shame is what led me to an eating disorder. We're looking for is stability.
That's your fault.
It's
See, the problem is that you're a professional
victim.
victim. Would you agree, like looking at his physique, like he's at a perfectly, I would say, maybe healthy.
Looks like a fat version of Eric.
He's definitely overweight, definitely obese.
Tyler.
Janik is competing soon, and I don't know. His waist is giant.
My name's John. I host the Radical Empathy podcast. I used to direct episodes of Middle Ground, but I'll now be moderating today's discussion between jackmen and fatmen. Our first prompt is, I have felt disgusted looking at...
So technically, I don't want to go through the first prompt, but we're going to fast forward all the way towards the end. All right. Not the end, but 35 minutes.
I have abused my body. Will the agreeers step forward?
Okay, I see. So that's a prompt.
I'll start by saying I've abused my body many times. Being a bodybuilder, a professional bodybuilder, I've abused steroids. Did that for over 10 years. I don't think you can get to the level that you have to get to be a professional bodybuilder while being natural. And so absolutely. And I would say that somebody trying to abuse steroids to get that muscle, to get that look, is just as unhealthy as somebody who's obese. So I don't try to be a hypocrite. I say I've done these poor choices. I'm 48 now. I don't do steroids anymore. And so I recognize that what I did in the past was bad, probably took years off my life. And so I would say to people who are overweight, why don't you do the same thing? And if you're not, then do you really care about your health?
Hey, yo, so I want to stop this right there. Ian, really quick, is there a way?
Take it away.
Should I go back to the normal?
I can just go like this, and then the video's already up. So when you're ready to go to the screen, I think I can do. Yeah, I can just go back there.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. So, bro, one thing that Greg said, dude. So he abused and took steroids for over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And it took, and I believe that they will mention it a little bit later, but it took him. Like, he knew he was doing bad. He knew he was physically abusing his body by taking these things. Right?
Yeah, I've been following Greg for years. So started.
For him to say, I'm going to take that information and then teach people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum using what he was doing to abuse his body and say, this is why you should take better care of yourself, I think is a little disingenuous, bro. because it took him 10 years to come to this realization himself. So how can he expect other people to just like wake up or just be like, you know, just kind of come to that, you know, at that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're essentially, just so I make sure you're coming from how Greg, it took him 10 years to come to the realization what I'm doing is unhealthy and I'm taking years off my life. How can you sit in front of somebody who's obese, who may not have been obese for 10 years and expect that person to come to that same realization?
Yeah, agreed. Exactly what I'm saying. Or let's even draw another situation, because like Greg has the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Greg has the knowledge to come back from, and this is a different topic. Let's say it's being overweight. He was fit, got overweight, did it for 10 years, and then was like, yo, I'm going to get fit again. He already has kind of the tools necessary to get back. What about the people who don't, bro? What about the people who have never had the tools ever?
And that's where I would say is exactly that. So Greg knew before he started that steroids were going to lead to X, Y, and Z. He may not have digested what that time taken off his life may look like when he's not married. He broke up with his girlfriend, doesn't have a family. But if you were to take Greg and put someone else who has a little bit more to lose, he knew pretty much what he knew then. Now it just took a different shaping of his environment for him to be like, oh shit, I actually want to enjoy living, and bodybuilding is not my whole life, and there's nothing after bodybuilding for me. These people over here, I don't necessarily know that they look at it like I'm obese and I know I'm killing myself. I don't think so, man. And I think, you know, it's actually funny. This is actually a really good point. Greg posted a video. I had seen this reel on Instagram when I was just going through content to react to. It was of this lady with an eating disorder. She was on a leg press. And I saw it and I was like, I already had my thought. I was like, oh, she has an eating disorder. She's super skinny, you know? And I was like, I'm going to look at the comments. Like, of course, you know, they're going to talk shit, and people are talking shit, right? Done. I went on Instagram a little bit later. Greg pops up on my feed and it's that same video without even reading the caption. I was like, there's nothing positive that Greg could say about this video. What does he say in the video? Oh, this is your notice, or something along the lines of don't eat so few calories and blah, blah, blah. Pretty much this is unhealthy. Don't do this. And I commented, and I even reached out to her, and I was like, Greg, and this actually coincides very perfect to his perspective here. You can't just tell someone eat more, get over your eating disorder, and they're like, oh, you know what? That's like, oh, breaking news. Greg ends world hunger by telling people to just eat. Like Greg ends poverty because he just tells broke people to make more money. And that's where I think it's very exactly what you're saying. It's disingenuous, but also unempathetic. But there is some truth.
Yeah. Let's go. There's more to it. And I'm glad you said that. Let's go to the next part.
Okay.
If you do, you would stop doing the things that are leading to being morbidly obese.
But then to your own argument, you spent 10 years doing
Shout out to Eric.
You knew was inherently unhealthy.
Correct.
But then you're going to turn around and tell people that they should just wake up. But
yes, exactly. Like people should have told me, Greg, why do you keep doing this to yourself? You do not recognize what's going to happen. And if we call it shaming, why are you abusing steroids, Greg? Think of it. Think of the years you're taking off your life. Maybe I would have waited.
But the power was in your own awakening, right? The power right there was in your own awakening to realize within yourself that you were doing something negative, and then you made the change for it, right? And that change is now consistent.
Can we pause it right there real quick? I just want to take a quick point. I think it's very important to exactly what he's saying. That own realization is where the power is. I tell this with my first-time competitors all the time. I like this saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? I can tell you all the time, do your cardio, train, stick to the diet, pose, whatever. And you're like, yeah, sure, it's important. He's telling me it's important. But until you step on that stage and get your ass kicked, or you step on that stage and you do however, you don't know until you go through it yourself. So someone could tell, he could have been telling Greg exactly for his entire life, Greg, steroids are bad. You're going to die. You're going to die. Until he sees for himself, that is a spark and change. I just want to note that Tevin makes an excellent point. I think, you know, as much as I love Greg, and that's the last thing I'll say, I begin to see when he steps out of his zone of just giving diet advice and steroid advice, and you see him doing a lot of lifestyle and dating stuff now, you really actually see that he's immature in a lot of ways. I just want to note that.
No, I hear that. I do want to lean into this, and this is Greg too, someone who has probably spent for anybody to take steroids, right? For anybody to take steroids and hop on taking steroids, he competed and did a lot of shows natural, bro. He has a lot of skin in the game. as a natural. And imagine the people who didn't have that skin in the game, who hopped off, like our last episode, hashtag shameless plug, our last episode talking about people hopping on too early, people hopping on who are ignorant, the promotion of these quick fixes, even though you're going to be on for the rest of your life, and unless you do it as smart as you can. So like, that's a bigger problem. That's a bigger issue to people who don't have as much skin in the game as like Greg. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Okay.
Shout out to Tevin. I hope it's Tevin and not Tevin, but
dude, if it's Tevin, bro.
That you can give a testimony about and help other people change their ways or persuade people to just not do it at all, right?
But building on what you said, what was the moment, where the perspective shifted?
Well, I got old enough and realized I can't get any better at this. I can keep taking more and more drugs and try to sustain this, but I said, it's not worth it anymore. So I had to completely change my mind around what I was doing, which was being judged on my appearance. And remember, I make money on how I look. So that's going to have a huge impact on me. And I had to say, I need to get my dopamine, my self-worth from something else. So I quit doing all the bodybuilding competitions. And I said, I'm going to start riding bikes. I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to do something else where I can feel good about myself. And it's hard. Like, look at this guy, 300 pounds of muscle. 20 years from now, is he going to want to still be this size? He might look back and say, I maybe regret certain things. I think if somebody's overweight, they're going to think the same things. Like if you're 400, 500, 600 pounds, you're going to think this. Is it worth doing this? Is it worth eating all the time? It's tough.
I think this is the first like actual.
Can you pause it one more time? I just want to say this again. I think Greg is just, he's putting, yes, it is their choice, but they're not like, I want to be fat, right? They're actually supplementing their dopamine or whatever through the food, or it fills that empty feeling. I just wanted to point that out because I think he's very wrong in a lot of his approach.
Yeah, I agree.
Surprisingly, by the way,
I get that people, how would we say, judge a book by its cover. People are never not going to judge a book by its cover. So whenever we see someone overweight, fat, obese, there is an inherent, I guess, judgment, especially dependent on your perception of what that means. Some people take it the harsh route and take it unempathetically or empathetically, and depending on that take, like you'll cast that judgment. But like, I have a friend she was like 500 pounds and she lost 150 pounds. You look at her, she's 350. Like, you see someone who's 350 pounds, but you don't know that she lost 150 pounds. When you do know, you're like, holy crap, that's freaking insane. But to people who don't, they're just, especially for people who don't necessarily care, they are just another person who's overweight. You know what I mean? And that kind of sucks about society, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, dude.
It is what it is, man.
Great, because it's true. I mean, I've been harmful to myself on both sides of the spectrum. There are times I was taking, 20 to 30 diet pills and laxatives a day, eating less than 400 calories a day, working out nonstop. And there's the other times where I was eating way too much, smoking way too much, drinking way too much, and abusing my body in the other way. I think we all come to the realization of what we're doing is harmful in different ways at different times. Like, it took you 10 years to realize that was harmful. My thing is, sometimes it takes people who might be overweight or, at that high tier, that 500-600 pounds, to realize that it's harmful for them. And maybe in their life, they don't feel like it's harmful and they're happy. There are people,
I disagree with that,
not legitimately happy in certain
ignorance is bliss. Like, I mean, I was happy at the moment. I felt like it was
bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, but you could die before you wake up.
You could have done the same thing taking steroids.
Bro,
exactly. I could have died doing what I did.
I agree.
And so is it not my responsibility to tell people, don't copy me? And so it did not be somebody who's,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
To do the same thing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Even when you said before, you're like, well, I wish someone had shamed me, saying, what are you going to do? You're going to kill yourself.
Let's talk about that, man. I don't think shaming is the answer, to be honest. I don't think. I guess like maybe it kind of works for some people, maybe rare occasion who don't take it. But let's be real, most people who take shaming will take it in a negative light and either do the thing that they are being shamed for in spite of that, and that's a different. But most people aren't going to respond well to that. I wouldn't respond well to that. Heck, you put me in a freaking 1 rep max competition in the gym, I'm not trying to get yelled at, and that's something that would be deemed positive, right?
Yeah.
But the shame on, let's talk about, like, so Greg is on steroids, right? He's making gains, he's competing. If someone were to come up to him and be like, hey man, like, you're gonna die if you keep doing this, I don't think he would have a chill reaction. I don't think most people would have a chill reaction to that. And most people would just brush it off. A lot of people brush it off nowadays until they get their fix, like we discussed earlier. I don't think you can go to someone who is not ready for said change. I do think every one of these, or at least a few of these, the people on the fat side work out. They do train regularly. Heck, the guy that was talking in the very, very front, Zach, he's a model, bro, for big and tall. That guy's a unit, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's married, has a family. But he's a model for big and tall. So like, although he is overweight, like he is not conscious of the way that he looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about the health side of things. So just wanted to say that, bro. Let's go.
No, it makes sense. I think honestly, if you want to tie the last episode, we get again a no shameless plug to this one. Everybody has their thing that they do. And I think ultimately it comes to maturity and having an open mind that you could possibly be doing something better or you're wrong. That ultimately will lead, are you going to listen, right? Sam Sulek, it took someone with more authority than him to be like, hey, you probably need to do this a certain way, right? With those 2 kids with the research chems, right? You could tell them, hey, this is stupid all you want. They can get shit on the internet. That's not what's going to change it. They're probably going to get older 5-7 years from now, have a girlfriend, look back like, this is so dumb. I was so dumb, because I've done that. And I think it's like you either learn through your own mistakes, or they always say a wise man learns from somebody else's mistakes. So, you're asking a lot of somebody to just take the word of somebody else that they don't know. Because I've had friends, who have been extremely overweight and are overweight and don't listen to me. And I'm a pretty good authority. I'm a resource that you have as your best friend to tell you this stuff. And they still don't listen. And then eventually it's unfortunate because something bad happens, you don't learn. Something worse is going to happen, then worse. And eventually you're going to have that life-changing moment that you're like, oh, fuck, I need to make a difference. And that's where it comes into, okay, did you learn before you died, or did you have time to actually make a change? So yeah, I think back to your point with the shaming thing, some people learn by shaming, some people don't. I don't think that's the right way to go, especially when you don't know the person, but you should probably opt to being genuine and coming from a place of encouragement to begin with, and then adjust.
Agreed. The best coaches can try to put themselves in the shoes of their clients, bro.
That's exactly it.
Is what it is.
And I know that's what you're good at. I know you can really empathize with people. Just for people who don't know, Sky's weight loss and gain and just fitness journey in general is a lot more relatable to the average person versus me. Even though I had bouts, when I was younger, I was pretty much on an upwards trajectory the whole time. So it is definitely. I come from a side of.
Yeah, your dedication's on another level, bro.
Yeah, but again, it comes from other aspects of my life. But I have learned, Skylar, I've actually really learned to shape that empathy and put myself in those shoes, right? Whereas you might have to learn, and I don't know if you experience this or another, you might actually have to learn to be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more of, okay, I understand you, but you got to listen to me right now. And so, like you said, you got to be able to balance it.
Bro, do you call me Skylar? Bro, I feel like I'll get in trouble here.
Skylar Matthews?
Shaming to me, that is compassionate and looking out for somebody. It's when you take it to the other level where you start insulting them, degrading them, making them feel like shit.
As men, we insult each other and shame each other, but it's as a friend. Like this is what guys do. Girls don't do it. They all suck up to each other. You're all
I'm guilty
guys
of
are like,
that.
Look at your gut, look at your belly.
You know me, I talk shit.
I know that's what. No, it's important to compare.
I'm telling you what they do.
The masculine from the feminine, because it's guys talking here, and I think it's important to distinguish when something is feminine to say, well, we don't adhere to that over here.
Yeah, but there's been no shortage of generalizations on women in this episode so far. And I'm really, really curious about your answer to this prompt regarding like self-abuse, like bodily abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lifetime natural. I've never taken a drug before in my life. However, I was an athlete in college, and obviously when you're a Division I athlete, you're trained 2 to 3 times a day. It was very, very intensive.
Can you pause real quick,
I was trained through injuries, which wasn't intelligent.
What is his background? I've seen before. I know the Fresh Fit podcast, but real quick synopsis. How did he get big? Just by talking.
So he claims that he's naturally skinny, and he claims that he did an experiment where he gained weight. I think he just dirty bulked. In his words, he bulked, right? Or he's been referencing it as bulked, and then from there he like lost the weight that he put on from the bulk. So I don't think he was ever over fat. But he did dirty bulk and then lost. But
what is that? How did he get famous though?
Bro, He got famous by creating very toxic, red/blue pill type thinking.
That's what I thought.
Which I'm not even super familiar with, but I have seen viral clips.
Yeah,
and he gets girls who are OnlyFans and people.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They kind of grill them. Don't really like that, but you know, it is what it is.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be clear. That's what I've seen. I just want to know if he got famous some other way. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy that he's promoting this, but I mean, it is what it is. Do your thing, bro.
Dude, but at the end of the day, we're like, hey, we got to win. We got some teams to beat this season, so it built a mental fortitude. I think abuse is good to a degree if you're able to overcome it and learn something from it.
I did a lot of stupid things. Like I broke the world record in the bench press, and now I can't bench press anymore. And it was my favorite lift. I've had hip operations. I have both elbows.
Move on from the
world records natural. So I had the record. When I started getting popular on social media, I was talking about my steroid cycles. I was talking about what I've done. And they're like, look at your muscles, look at your chest. And it was like, do you know how hard it was to stop? Because I was being rewarded with dopamine, with
Scott, pause it real quick.
Nice things.
Just one point I want people to know too. When someone's fat and they're obese, you can see it right away. You see that process. When someone is unhealthy due to steroids and their bodybuilding experience, they look better. They look their quote unquote best, and you don't know how healthy they are inside. So again, the average person is not going to be able to tell that someone's unhealthy due to bodybuilding, but the average person is going to tell when someone's obese. Like it's. I'm glad you picked this video because you can't come to middle ground until you see that they're both different. And I don't think Greg or even the fresh and fit guy can see that these are two opposing things.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even have anything to add. That was all spot on.
All the time. And for me to stop, I know that my views on social media go down. If I went on a steroid cycle right now, people are going to fall. Facts, wow, dude. Coach Greg, you're back. We missed the old Coach Greg. And so it's hard for me to be.
I will say, dude, so, bro, in the past,
I would say that.
Yeah, so I agree with that. But, dude, I think we live in a different time. Granted, a time that's evolving. It's not a different time, but it's a time that's evolving. And the reason I say that is because I know SKC at SKC Fitness or Lifts or whatever coaching at SKC Coaching. Bro, he's extremely boring, extremely monotonous. He doesn't really do any fancy things. And bro, he has grown to around 2 million just on Instagram, just by sitting down in his parents' kitchen and dropping knowledge, bro. Sure, it's very far and few in between. It's very, very far and few in between that happens. But maybe it's because everyone is trying to be extra that they don't kind of sit down and just like really think about giving value to the person, right?
Like Sam.
I know a whole bunch of bro. Just like Sam, granted, he does have the genetics and the steroids that come with that, which gain this wow factor. But he is a genuine dude, because we know a whole bunch of people who are also young, who also do that, who also post their lifts, who don't come across as genuine as Sam. And sure, it's a freak. He's a freak that caused that growth. But let's take the Research Chem boys, bro. They are living in this situation where they're like, people respond, I grow faster, I get more views by doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. So I don't really know who to blame. We can't really blame anyone. They're just doing something stupid and then they're getting rewarded for it, just like Greg said. So,
and do you think that's kind of what the fit side of this is alluding to with the obese people, with the like, the fat acceptance and the be who you are kind of acceptance? Is that kind of in a way like fueling?
I think
more people do it.
They're justifying. I think that Greg is justifying why he leaned in so hard and why that 10-year span of him doing drugs was so hard to quit. I guess nowadays you could get on the opposite end of the spectrum and say there's a whole bunch of body positive influencers, and I don't want to get the bad ones mixed in with the people who are good, because I do know some genuine body positivity who are more about accepting but changing and being okay with what you are now with wanting to change. But there's some people who develop their whole following based on being fat, overweight, fit.
Yes.
Maybe doing
like what was that? Nick Avocado or Nikado Avocado? Remember, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I don't, but what I mean is he became fat and very unhealthy because of the character and because of the mukbangs. What I'm specifically talking about is I don't know, someone who has grown because they are trying to live in the body as they are now, I guess, who has kind of more pure intentions of like everyone accept themselves. You can change if you want, but everyone accepts. Because Nickel Cop doesn't really talk about, oh, accept yourself being fat. He's just going to eat and be a character. You know what I mean? So there are some people who are genuinely trying to accept their body, and maybe they're doing it the wrong way, but they're putting it out there and develop a following like that, right?
Yeah.
So they're getting positive feedback to stay at the weight that they are, because when people notice that they lose weight, they start to lose followers, or people are like, you betrayed the fat acceptance community because you're losing weight and you're not staying who you are. You see what I'm saying? You see like the opposite ends of the spectrum. And again, this isn't everyone, but like it's the same, but it's like different. You know what I mean?
Say maybe you would have a better idea about this, because what it seems like with the examples that you're giving is somebody gets big for a certain reason, just like a band. They create this music, right? That this is their first album is usually always their best. Time goes on, they maybe want to change their sound. They have a new meaning, or this fat person becomes skinny, or what you're saying. And I think people, succumb to the pressure of being the image and the expectation of what got them famous, but they don't realize that you're going to get hated no matter what. And the transformation into something new is another opportunity for you to grow, not just personally, but also in your business or your brand. So like when a band changes from one type of music to another, there's going to be people that love it, and it might just need to grow on people. Or like, for instance, like you're saying, this person who just gets that feedback of staying fat. Well, maybe if you lost weight, now you can appeal to people who are different. Like you can still have your diehard crowd who understands, and then now you have, hey, wow, this person did it. Look at where this person came from. Like there's a different crowd that you can appeal to. So I guess, do you live by what got you big? And I would have to say it's time, like anything, it's time to adapt. Like we were talking earlier off the live, about, possibly doing different business ventures is sometimes you got to grow, and that might leave other people to think you're not being genuine, but people just don't like change. People just don't like change.
Yeah. And essentially that's what we're talking about, is not liking change.
I'm going to bring the video back up.
Old man that's still preaching fitness, when they say we love the old Coach Greg, the jacked muscle freak, and I have to fight the urges not to use steroids every single day, because I know I would look better. I know I would feel better, but I'm like, it's not healthy. And so I have to say no.
I get what you mean about the dopamine reward thing, because for me, I have a similar situation, but kind of in the opposite way. Every time I start slimming down, I start getting the, what are you doing? Why are you losing weight? Because I am in that large guy space. Like, so it's like, it's very funny how much on both sides outward opinions just like really, really just make what we do hard. I know that when I am doing more cardio, and like I'm a big hiker and biker, and sometimes in the summer I'll slim down, but then all of a sudden I'll get a ton of comments from people just being like, we liked you heavier, we liked you this. I'll have clients that'll stop using me because I've gotten too small. And so you're kind of seeking that dopamine, that approval, but also that career boost. You get stuck in this loop of doing things that you know aren't good for yourself.
I wanted to hear from you, just going back to the prompt, why you came forward.
Let's go, Eric.
Oh, I mean, I think obviously professional bodybuilding has its risks. Obviously, I try to mitigate them as much as possible. I work with a company that I'm doing blood work through, quarterly, every 3 months. I am very, very methodical with what I do, and I'm very, very on the mild side. You would be surprised, but I've been training for 20 plus years.
Hey, really quick. So I have nothing against Eric, but this also sounds like I'm unhealthy and I'm abusing my body, but I'm doing it in a healthier way. Just like someone who is overweight is like, I'm overweight, but I'm working out and I walk and I watch my calories. You see what you see.
No, I agree. And that's when he said that, I was like thinking, well, because I know bodybuilding. I can't remember if he's a pro yet. Yeah, I think he is a pro, and he just took some time off. But he's not a competitive. He's not making money off of bodybuilding whatsoever. So, he shouldn't be speaking as if, I'm doing this because I'm a bodybuilder and I want to compete.
Well,
no, you're doing it. Go ahead.
About that is, wouldn't you say like we are making money off of bodybuilding, being a coach and getting viewership on social media and that, you know what I mean? Because it's all kind of intertwined.
I would have to say you have to delineate what bodybuilding is, right? Is bodybuilding just competing, or is it putting on muscle and building fat? Because when I do my consultations, like I explain, like you are a bodybuilder if you're trying to put on muscle and burn fat, because that's what bodybuilding is, right? So yes, in the general sense of the term bodybuilding, that's what we make money off of. But what I'm saying, I think He's trying to defend, sport. Oh, I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I have to do this. Greg said, I was a competitive bodybuilder. I have to do this. Yeah. Eric, to me, is a little bit less genuine in that regard because he's not a competitor. He competes now. He's just prepping for another show, but like he doesn't make his money from that. He's nowhere near he's never been in the Olympia. So
interesting.
But yeah, I think, man, it really comes down to a little bit of delusion. It's just exactly what you're saying, justifying. And I feel like the crowd, the obese guys or the fats, they're not really justifying themselves being fat. Whereas Greg, most people know that being, unless it's delusion, right? Most people know that being fat is, no one's saying like, oh, just go be fat, right? Just go be fat. Usually it's like, accept yourself for who you are or what you are, or it is, let's get healthier. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So there's no one saying like, oh, just go, just have your goal be 600 pound, get on 600 pound line. You know what I mean? Versus the opposite end of the spectrum. Sam Sulek said it best, just get big. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole like get bigger, especially in that space. So
yeah, and then with Eric, just because you're getting fucking blood work, I tell this to people all the time, does not mean it's safe. You could get blood work and do, one cycle and you could be shit. Like this is not for you.
Sure.
The blood work also is not a complete indication. For instance, like heart, it doesn't tell you how much plaque you have built around your arteries and stuff like that. Yeah. So, I don't think you can justify, you're monitoring your health, but you're not improving your health. Yeah. So I think that's also a contradiction as well.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like justification. I mean, I'm not saying, again, I don't really know much about Eric. The first video I saw was he was sprinting and it went viral, bro. He was sprinting with his shirt off and he's just a big dude, just freaking sprinting.
Or he dances before his videos.
That was the first video, and then I saw him on Greg's channel. Let's go back to it.
Okay.
The key for me, I would say, like being in the size, 100% not healthy. Is it unfortunate that
even his weight is unhealthy? 300 pounds even for muscle.
Yeah, it's kind of
obese.
I fell into it. I love it. It's hard for me, but I made a decision with my wife that at age 35, that's it. I'm done. Like no more competitive bodybuilding. Well, I have an understanding, but like Greg, I have the foresight to know like there has to be a limit to it. Because if you just let it go, I would have to be probably 25 more pounds of muscle and like have to do things that I'm not willing to do in order to be like, let's say Mr. Olympia, right? So, because all the way through my 20s, I was close to like 230 pounds, natural all the way until I was like 27 and a half. So hopefully I'll be okay going back to that size.
Do you use steroids currently?
I mean, I use...
I think that's the biggest insult in the world right now.
No. I only ask.
I love this answer.
Again, we're on the topic of body abuse, right? So I'm only asking that in that realm because of what you said about it. I'm not asking that.
No, it's kind of like it's just like when you're jacked like that.
Oh, and you say, I wonder if they're going to let him say it.
You can look like this natural.
No,
like if I said, "Hey, are you on steroids?" Look at that body. Like if I said, "Dude, you look like you're on steroids."
Yeah, people think you're on gear. It's a compliment.
If I said, "Obviously you're natural," be like, "What the?"
Greg, shut the.
What do you mean? Obviously,
bro.
No, obviously.
Let him speak, bro. I don't want.
It's literally just like.
Is he going to pause it? Is he going to answer?
Just like, well, what?
No.
So okay, let's.
I mean, who said yes?
Did he say yes? I am on steroids.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I was gonna say because I was like, well, I wonder who he's sponsored by because who he's sponsored by might not be able to let him do that because Young LA won't let them. Well, actually, Young LA in a way.
I don't think.
But like Jim Shark,
I don't think it's. Yeah, I'm not sure who he's sponsored by.
Yeah,
I need to do more research on these people, but it is what it is.
You're no more than I do.
Do you do as you're progressing in that to get to the points that you want? So that's where that question stems from, and I also really appreciate your candor for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I will 100% say like
I like Tevin.
Some of the best shape of my life was natural in my 20s, like very lean, probably my healthiest. Like if anybody tells you they're like an IFBB professional bodybuilder, it's almost 99% of them are in some capacity enhanced. It might be very minimally, it might be through the roof, like you wouldn't even believe what they're taking, but it's there. It's part of the sport. It's unfortunate, but like that's the problem. That's one of the problems we talked about earlier with the fitness industry is like that's the expectation.
Let's bring our disagreeer.
Hey.
So pause it real quick, Scotty.
Good job.
So
yeah.
Again, they agreed that I have a choice for my body. So everyone sitting there agrees that they have a choice?
No, this one, they're about to switch to that eventually, but this is, I have abused my body.
Okay, so Tyler is saying that I've never done it.
Tyler is natural.
Yeah. So, but that's by him disagreeing. He's like, I disagree with the statement that I have abused I have.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And see, I think Myron said that he's natural, but his definition of abuse is different than just taking steroids, which Tyler's is more of like, I'm natural, but also I started for health type of thing. He'll get into it, but I don't want people to think just taking steroids is the abuse that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's more than that. So
yeah.
I'm not abusing yourself.
Yeah. So I took abuse as like doing things that's negative for your health, and for me, I've always approached fitness from a health kind of lens, right? Like Myron, I'm 100% natural. I'm never gonna look like Eric. I'm never gonna look like Greg, but it's something I'm content with, right? For me, I'm kind of in for the long term. I want to be able to do what I do when I'm 60, 70, 80, 100. Focusing more on the health aspect of it can be a good middle ground, because I feel like if you're looking from the outside in, sometimes can be like, dude, how am I gonna look like Eric? Like, how is this ever gonna happen, right? But you know, people have different goals, I would say, within fitness, and yeah.
I think it's important to also acknowledge that like there's abuse on both spectrums, right? Like you can be a fat ass on one end and say, I'm going to just continue to eat cheeseburgers and put on TikTok. And then there's the other side where you can, you know, use performance enhancing drugs and say, I'm going to step on stage. But I would make the argument that the person that is training, using PEDs, etc., I'd respect that individual more than the fat ass. And the reason why is because though it isn't healthy to be on performance enhancing drugs, you're still pushing your body to a level that most can't, versus by just being fat, that doesn't take any skill or dedication.
Hey, can we really quick, bro? He goes in, man, and I don't. He's definitely the villain of this podcast, man.
Well, dude, he's calling these dudes fat ass in front of their face, like we're having a genuine conversation. And I don't know, just to play devil's advocate, I would argue that you're pushing your body to levels that it can't when you do the performance enhancing drugs and the bodybuilding, but also when you're obese. I think it takes a skill to become obese. I just couldn't become obese. I just don't think I could.
I think I agree with you there, because I have fallen off completely, and I want to say fallen off, like I've gone through some shit, to be honest, and with that mental state being not the best, I put on some weight, bro. Like didn't train.
Thanks, guy.
I think I got up to 256, but at 256, I physically couldn't eat like more food. Like I didn't want to eat at all. And then all of a sudden, I started losing weight all the way back to like 245 because I couldn't eat. I didn't want to eat. You see what I'm saying? So I'm granted, no one like gets. Okay, some people do get obese. I'm not even saying some people get obese like quickly, you know, within the span of a couple of years. But usually becoming overweight, if it hasn't already started sooner, does happen very incrementally and through you not adapting to the changes in your life and being cognizant of it. For example, like someone who was doing, you know, athletics and then they go to college, they're not really moving as much. They slow down as a person. They think their metabolism is all shot. Not really, but they start eating more food, stress, all that stuff. Right. Life, gain weight over time. In that time of my life, it was a period of like 6 months. I genuinely would think, how can people continue from this point? And that's really where I was at. So
there's a mental state attached to it. There's a psychological aspect to it that I just don't think you reach, to where food became your outlet and you looked at yourself so down. You had such low self-esteem that the only way, you know, it's like people with porn addictions. Like honestly, like porn, you know, releases the same neurotransmitters as food does, or you know, as winning. So I would say for somebody, you and I could not get. I don't think we could maybe get depressed. I'm speaking for myself here. I don't know that we could get overweight, but there are also things that we would be more susceptible to that could be damaging.
I mean, technically, bro, my neck is 17 inches and I have an obese neck. So my neck is obese, bro. Oh, it's funny.
You need to start doing some neck ups, bro. All right. Let's hit it.
So what if a fat person is doing something like, maybe they're into quantum physics, maybe they're changing the way we view the world entirely? Are they not valuable because they're not shredded?
Once again, we're talking about the purpose of you know, abusing your body. I'd have more respect for the bodybuilders, my point.
Okay.
And I think society would in large as well, which is why bodybuilders that, you know, like a Ronnie Coleman, etc., though he is disabled now, etc., he's a legend and he's going to go down in history.
Yeah, but
only to bodybuilders.
Question, you know, like what a great film director who's like very overweight, and like just totally poured into their craft, you know, like is there respect for someone like that?
Well, that's great because he's able to do something exceptional, right? And he's able to diversify himself from the general masses, right? But will people know that when they meet him, that he's a famous director, unless he's very prominent? But yeah, there's exceptional people that are fat in certain regards, but we're talking about body abuse here. I'm just saying in general, I would have far more respect for the professional bodybuilder
than like Peter Jackson
versus
making multiple.
Yeah. So really quick, before they go on, the thing that I don't like is he's saying that there's always exceptions to the rule, right? And I agree that someone who might not be into fitness, who ends up pouring their resources into developing the next freaking iPhone, and they get, you know, they freaking become, you know, high status individual. You would argue that dedication, although being placed somewhere else, should garner some sort of respect, right? Or more respect, right? Would you know that by seeing them? Well, there is a lot of people who take performance enhancing drugs, enhancements, steroids, who don't look the part, who don't make it to the stage, who don't become that high level. I don't know. So Ziggler Monster, he is a friend of mine I met him on TikTok. He's a cool dude. He said, I don't know how many, but he said there's around 8 to 10 of his friends that have passed away that you will never know their name. And this was an intro to his video. And he went on to talk about how these people had the goal of stepping on stage, bodybuilding, but because they were unhealthy, you know, doing it unhealthy, they passed. They all have passed in a certain time frame. So like, those are the people that you don't see. Those are the people that we don't get to call out. Those are the people that and vice versa for the people who are overweight or obese. So I don't like, granted, in Myron's case, he doesn't, I guess, might not be thinking of this at the time, but like, that's a real thing. And that, you know,
I get what you're saying. Like they're not here those exceptions are also not here to speak for themselves or be example. I'm curious to where, you know, I'm a very kind of like introspective guy when I think everybody has their reasons why they are and where they are and what they enjoy and what they don't like. And for me, there's a reason why, you know, this guy is so anti-fat. Like there's a reason he either was at some point and got bullied, or his parents instilled that to him. I mean, it's like Andrew Tate, you know.
They bring that up later, and they're trying to ask, like, what happened? Because he's pro shame. He's like, shame all people.
That's coming from inside him.
And they're trying to like, well, who shamed you? They're asking him, who shamed you, Myron? Who shamed you? And he's like, well, he just dances around it. So like,
he needs help, and because he bashes women, like I've seen. I mean, these people, it's like. Again, we're gonna just gonna go off topic here for a quick second. So Andrew Tate, controversial figure. I've never been on one side or the other. I think, you know, there's certain points that you can maybe agree with, certainly don't. I don't really try to get attached to a person. But if you see over the years, he said very inflammatory things. He was very, you know, hyperbolic in things that he said, very exaggerative. And as he's gotten older and more mature, he holds certain viewpoints, but he changes the way he speaks about it. And I think, you know, when you speak in that way, how you do when you're younger and immature, it is coming from emotion, coming from a place of, you know, whatever, right? And I think that's where Myron, if I guess that's his name, is coming from. Like there's something deeply embedded. He has some hate in there.
There's something there, bro.
There is, and it's detracting from his situation. It really is. And honestly, if you want to go that way, I mean, a lot of bodybuilders are insecure. A lot of bodybuilders have a lot of self-esteem issues. It is a very independent, solo, introvert sport. And a lot of people use that size and that prominence to overcome whatever smallness they may feel. I'm not saying everybody, right? I mean, I could be hypocritical. I bodybuild for different reasons, but I think that these people are very similar to who they're arguing against. But I would also say that just because they're fitter doesn't mean they have, you know, they don't have the emptiness or they don't have some issues inside that makes them want to do that. It's still feeding something unhealthy. It's like, last thing I'll say, I have a friend who's a drug addict, right? He became sober from drugs and alcohol, but what did he pick up? Steroids. And so he just switched his addiction with another addiction. Just like people with eating disorders, they, you know, eat very scarce, right? And to get to a very, you know, very extreme position. But then once you like, okay, let's start eating again, they need to find another addiction. So they find it in the calorie counting and the scale, and they get obsessed with that. And until they actually tackle that. So I know I went on a tangent. I just want to touch on that.
I mean, I'm guilty of that last statement too, man.
Yeah. you feed one
versus award-winning films.
Was that Lord of the Rings? Exceptional happening,
but some guy like taking PEDs is better than
two different things. Sorry,
sorry. I'm legitimately curious.
Yeah,
you have guy using PEDs on one side trying to do stuff, and then you do have like Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, multi-Academy
Award winner. That's why I was very explicit to say I'm talking about the fat influencers. Yeah, so like I'm talking in that context. Like if you're gonna have abuse of your body on two different ends, right? One extreme is a bodybuilder, the other is a fat influencer. I think me and most of society would have far more respect for the.
I think he's gonna respect the hardworking billionaire.
I understand that, but I also think that like if someone's abusing themselves in any way, there should be some empathy and like rather than just being like you're a better abuser to yourself than that person.
Fitness culture can be toxic. Yeah. Agree.
All right, we already know the answer to that. They kind of just proved it, but I want to move on.
Okay.
To the next prompt, which is your physique is in your control, man, because this one's a little feisty.
Can the agreeers please step forward?
My mentality was just breaking down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with the prompt, just saying like, I probably wouldn't go extreme like on your side of the.
So everyone agrees.
Yeah. This was the end of.
It's a prompt is your physique is in your control. Can the agreeers please step forward?
So long story short, in 2018, I got to my heaviest weight, which was 441 pounds. And I was depressed, like. That's crazy, but I was depressed as fuck, man. Like it was really hard. My weight had built like a cage around my mind. So even things that I knew were good for me, I couldn't even like go for it because my mentality was just so messed up. And it got to the point to where I had someone tell me like, dude, you're gonna die. And that hurt, you know? And I just flip things around. And I think one thing we haven't mentioned is accountability. I think that's the biggest thing. When I was growing up, my weight was always blamed on someone else. I was like, oh, it's my parents feeding me too much. And it's like, you can close your mouth. Like, I don't have to eat, you know? But when I finally made that change in my head, I realized that where you're at, given like the ideal circumstances, it is your choice. I am where I'm at now because I made a series of wrong choices and didn't handle myself correctly.
I mean, you deserve to be depressed if you're fat. I mean, the reality is that,
can you pause real quick
is a very healthy response to inadequacy.
So my question is, because I usually view people who don't have the physique that they want and blame external factors as people who would not agree with this statement. So like, man, I guess this is something that maybe you can give me some perspective on. I don't know that you can be obese and say that your physique is in your control. Then I don't know anybody who would actively make a decision to want to be that way. I can understand you not wanting to be that way, but also not wanting to do the work or not wanting to be uncomfortable. And that's maybe where the psychological part is here. But I don't know, how can you sit down and be obese? And maybe we could disagree on this. I don't know how you could sit down, be obese, and also say your body's in your control. Like, I just feel like you have to have a victim mentality to get into that place to begin with.
So honestly, like, Myron does freaking go off on that. He goes in, bro.
Okay.
Which is crazy, but it is what it is. So I will say this to your statement. I think that one thing that he is forgetting is that the gaining of the weight was just a byproduct of his perceived inadequacies. You know what I mean? Just like whenever I was depressed and I do think depression exists. I think it's a real thing, and I think a lot of people, it's as a result of a lot of people not understanding or how to manage their own emotions, and falling deep into that. I was in that position. I think that it was my lack of activity and my continuation of just eating the same things or the same amount that resulted in the weight gain. The weight gain, I didn't gain weight and then get depressed. It was depression.
Right.
And the gaining of the weight was the byproduct of that depression, which further snowballed my feeling of inadequacy. I was like, well, I'm already here, you know,
are you pretty much saying that the control of your physique goes hand in hand with the control of your depression? So if you can't control one, you can't control the other?
I think it's harder to control the other. Yes. I think it's harder. I think you can, because some people would fall the opposite way. Some people go through a nasty breakup and their depression is, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well just go to the gym. So like, it's just your response. Like your depression is your response. In my opinion, I'm not a professional, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it's your response to her, how you respond, and that's really it. Which is, in hindsight, still in your control because you can dictate how you respond. You just got to be self-aware enough to catch yourself, to direct yourself or redirect yourself to that response.
Now,
in that response.
Trick question: do you think when you have that realization and you switch, that you can only do that if you simultaneously get over your depression too? Like, can you still be depressed and have that realization? Okay, I'm going to do something to better myself and have that change and look better and be healthier. And then maybe depression gets cured as that comes on, or do they both switch?
I think it is a realization of this can't get any worse, or I need to do something. You need to make the decision to be better in order to eventually cure your depression.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's not anything, in my opinion, or at least in my case, I had to take steps to get my schedule back in order, prioritize moving, delete the DoorDash and Uber Eats apps from my phone. Bro,
by the way, that is something a lot of people need to do. I have a couple buddies who through COVID, that's how they got fat, is those things, and then they just continued that, and and you just spend so much freaking money, dude.
It gets expensive, not gonna lie. And then it's the conscious decision of like doing that step, taking one step at a time, day by day, and then eventually you're like, okay, I'm starting to feel better. Okay, now I'm seeing some positive feedback. Okay, now I'm looking better. What else can I do? How else can I change? How else can I be better? Some people fall out of that. Some people still take a couple of steps back. You know what I mean? It's this fight that everybody is eventually in from that point. So,
when you're a man, you got to go out there and produce. We're not women where we can just coast on our looks and make it through life. As a man, you must produce.
I gotta cut you off, bro, because no one deserves to be like, people die from that shit, bro. Like no one deserves to be depressed.
Let me finish. The reason why you feel depressed, and it's a healthy response to you being fat, is because it's your body telling you like, wow, what are you doing? You need to fix this. You're sad because you're not going out there and accomplishing what you're supposed to do. It's your masculine duty to make money, to be successful, to lose weight, to be strong and fit so that you can protect and provide for the people that you love. And when you're not able to do that, you get depressed and you get sad.
Okay, can you stop there real quick?
Because you're a fuck up.
Have you experienced?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he arguing that, okay, he's saying that you are actually depressed because you're not doing the things that you want to do or that you should be doing, aka staying in shape, getting money, whatnot. But that kind of is a very hollow point.
I think
because you have to get fat in the first place to even get that depression. But they're fat or obese, they're saying because they're depressed. So maybe they were okay. So I guess his argument is you were at one point skinny, you got depressed because you weren't doing the things you were supposed to, aka being masculine, whatever. And then you started to gain weight and that continued your depression. And now you're even more depressed because you're fat. And now you're really not doing the things you're supposed to do as a man.
Yeah, that's essentially what he's saying.
I get it. It's the same thing all those, bro entrepreneurs talk about. Like, and I'm going to say this, and I brought it up a little earlier. I said the name Hormozi is one big one for me where do you know who he is? Alex Hormozi. He's like a huge entrepreneur, bro. In my opinion, I think he lies about being natural. He's not a natural. It's been disproven, or it's been proven that he's not. And I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you lie about this, what makes anyone think that you're not trying to shice people in the way of how you're selling whatever? That's just how I look at it. I haven't dove deep into how he processes it, but he's kind of the same thing for me. I think, the way that these guys operate is all come from the same mindset. It's all like, you need to be this, and this is what a man is, and blah, blah, blah. But they also have, again, something inside that he's showing his true colors with this. But I don't know. I just think it's very interesting.
So I think that, bro, he wore his Fresh and Fit podcast shirt, bro. He wore his brand's shirt. I think he's searching for a viral clip, man. I think he's trying to get more views. I think that, of course,
to be the one guy who's talking shit in this thing, which would, because you're right. We've been talking about him kind of the most. Besides,
he's polarizing. I think that there is some truth, and that's why it makes it very like a hard pill to swallow. I think there is some truth to what he is saying, but I think he does he does swing very, very far. He swings too far, in my opinion. But
he's an extreme. He talks about a spectrum. I think he is on the very far end of the spectrum on one side, even more so than the guys that are on PEDs and the bodybuilders. Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Depression.
Well, I've always been. I've had times where I've been sad and stuff, but I always get over it.
So you shouldn't speak on it then.
And I think that's very insensitive. People actually have mental health.
I agree with that too.
Depression most of the time is not real. No.
When I was younger, I would not have agreed with it.
No.
Okay. Not that it's not real.
A lot of the times when people are depressed, it's because of their own inadequacies. You're messing up in something in your life.
Is that an inadequacy?
He doesn't mean in all cases.
No, he's saying like in the majority.
When you say a blanket statement,
there's always going to be exceptions, but I'm speaking generally in this context of being fat and why you were depressed. It's because
that wasn't the only reason.
Also, pause it right here. Where did I hear this? That God, I was watching something recently, a podcast, and brought up a good point. There are always exceptions to the rule, but that doesn't necessarily prove the rule untrue. So in a reverse context, yeah, he's saying there's exceptions to his rule, but he's giving a blanket comment. And so I really truly believe that he thinks that, although he says that there's exceptions to the rule, I think he truly believes what he's saying right there.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
He seems to be standing on his point. So
yeah.
Component. You know what I mean?
It was a big component.
It was a response to inadequacy as a man. And the thing is that we live in a meritocracy. I know everyone likes to run around and say, oh, everyone's equal and it's all equality for everyone. No, that's not how the world works. Why the fuck should I be treated equally to someone who's fat, broke, not disciplined, and not as intelligent? It's a competition. Life is a competition.
Where are you getting the notions that people are not disciplined? Where is that coming from?
Okay,
you look at depressed.
Pause that right there. I do want to play devil's advocate right now, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I'm a big proponent of how you do one thing is how you do everything. So for me, I get where he's saying if you're fat, more than likely you're undisciplined, you don't have self-control. Now, I don't know everybody's whole life, right? There are probably places in my life where I don't have it, but I would say there are things that I'm lacking. So self-discipline and self-control are not one of them. Now, there might be other things that I might be lacking that the other person might have, but I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe you could challenge me on this. But if these people are fat, how could they, the qualities that got them there, regardless of the psychological depression aspect, but the habits, right? How can you really truly believe that they're going to be successful in other facets of their life, or are going to be able to perform at a high level? Sure, you might be like Peter Jackson and be a great actor, director. That might be the one thing that you do. But I would assume, just based off of what I look at you, that you don't have these qualities. And I'm starting to get where he's coming from. And you don't want to judge somebody without knowing them. But I would argue that if I see someone like, fitness is the biggest thing for me. And now I might seem like I'm siding with him, but it is a good point. Like, no one tells you, Skylar, you need to have muscle. No one tells you you need to have a six-pack. No one does that, right? Not even your job, not your school, unless you're an athlete, is telling you to do those things. So for you to do that through yourself and through your own, whether it's from negative or positive, where that comes from, right? Mm-hmm. You're still doing it. And I would argue that delayed gratification, that self-discipline, right? That self-motivation, those are qualities where if someone shows me through their physique, that's a physical manifestation at that, I'm going to assume that they can handle other things, versus someone walks in to an interview and they're overweight. I'm going to be like, you can't even take care of yourself and you present yourself this way. I don't know that I could trust that you could do those sorts of things. You'll have to show me, rather than I'm probably going to trust a fit guy. So I get where he's coming from. I don't know what you think about that.
I think physique does. I mean, we judge people by, we judge a book by its cover. That's right. That's a given. I think that until you get to know, for example, my friend who lost 150 pounds, then you'll start to realize, oh, dang, that 150 pounds took you 2 years. You were consistent for 2 years. Dang, that took a lot of work. You see what I'm saying? So
that's a good point. That's a good. You have to have those qualities that I think you don't have because you got there in order to do that. You're right. That's a good point. That's a really
and that's where I think the fat side is, and that is not a diss, by the way, but that's where I think the fat side is coming from. Is they're like, how can you judge me with before you even know me? And I mean, we can tie that to a lot of different things. Like, you know what I mean? It's actually looked down upon to judge someone before you know them. But we do it anyways. You see what I'm saying? So,
I mean, I'll always tell you, you know, when my girlfriend's like, would you love me if I was a worm? Like, look, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that the first thing I was attracted to was your ass, you know, or what you look like. Like, come on, like that's the first thing you do, right? Or you know, you see a nice car, it's based off. Yeah, that is the first feedback you get. The car was a dumb example, but you know, didn't mean to put my girlfriend on the spot. But yeah, I think the judging by it's a natural habit. Like you just can't. Yeah. But it's up to you to not be judgmental and be mature to be able to look past that. And it's the empathy thing, like you were talking about. Like you don't know what people are going through every day. Like, you know, you could be in the gym and someone could be a dick to you, but you don't know. I actually had that happen one time. I was in the gym, guy was being a dick to me. I was like, I didn't really go off on him, but I was like, all right, what the fuck? And he came up to me later. He's like, hey, dude, sorry, my dad died today. And I saw him, and we were friends there ever since because he was actually a really nice guy. And like, you didn't know that. So anyway.
Yeah. I feel that I just try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I think that comes with as coaches, we do work with a lot of people like directly. We get to know a lot of people. When people apply to work with me, the next step is for them to send me pictures. I still haven't spoken to them. Really, I haven't heard their voice. I just have the picture and what they wrote down. Sure, that lets me in, but until they sign on and I get to actually see them on video and talk to them, like I still don't know them. You know what I mean? I still can't put their situation until they're like, yo, Sky, like, I mean, life happened. We don't know people. And I mean, I think it's always okay to like place that judgment. You just need to make sure that judgment doesn't become a standard. Like all people are lazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. All in shape people.
That just goes to show his you know, it's exactly what you're saying. We're exposed to a lot of people. Like he has his echo chamber of all masculine dudes, right? Who shit on people. And those obese guys have their, you know, their acceptance, you know, no shaming, whatever. Exactly what you're saying. It just comes down exactly plain and simple. Everyone's a human being. You don't know what everyone's going through, and treat them like that. And I think at the end of the day, the subject of this video, I don't think it actually is, you know, they're making it seem like people who choose to be fit versus people who choose to be fat. And I don't think it's that simple.
Nah. I agree. I do agree that your physique is in your control at the point of you realizing that you have the control, bro. Because some people don't realize it. You know. So
I agree.
9 out of 10 times, they're not going to the gym. They're not making the money that they're supposed to be making. They're not where they need to be. Show me a guy that's making money, successful, has a good set of friends around him, has a network, etc., that is depressed. You would rarely find that. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. But in general,
understand that it's not black and white.
When you get depressed,
hey, bro, it ain't black and white, dude. I know 3 in shape, jacked, sexy looking dudes, and I'm comfortable with my masculinity. Like, let's freaking go with my sexuality, I should say. Who are bums, bro? They are straight
one
bums,
right here, bro.
They are straight bums. One has a membership. 2, one pays for the membership. 2 of them live together. And they share the gym membership. Like they have to go together because they have the guest pass.
I wish we could drop names in 361,
bro.
So,
bro, from the outside looking in, if they walked into the room, they are in shape. They command respect because of the way that they look. But, bro, these dudes are consistently having to, you know, pay the late fee or re-up their card because it doesn't go through because they don't have funds in there. You see what I'm saying? So like looks can be deceiving, but you won't know that until you talk to them and get to know them.
Oh yeah, dude. I was telling you know, my girlfriend the other day, like, you know, like I'm not the richest guy in the world, but you know, everybody has their shit. Everybody has their stuff that you don't know about it. You know, there are plenty of rich guys who I know very personally, or families that have a lot of money, and their dirty secrets go way beyond anything I could fathom. So yeah, you don't ever judge a book by its cover. Like we were talking about earlier, you know, you might be making X amount being solo or X amount coaching a bunch of other coaches. You might be making visually more with coaching the other coaches, but you don't know what's behind that, what you lose, the freedom, the more work you have, whatever it is. So don't judge it.
I agree. I think
there's a point that they're going to make because you're a fuck up and it's your body's natural response to being a fuck up.
Has anyone here ever felt like they didn't have control over their body or their physique?
There's times where I felt like I didn't have the control I wanted, but there was never a point where I'm like, this isn't within my ability to do.
Before. Yeah, I think we all go through stages, especially mental health.
You wish it was easier sometimes, but other than that, it's like, no, of course I'm in control of it. I know I am.
So I've started a fitness journey. I've been smaller, I've been bigger. I used to be a dancer. This like really was what fueled me, hit a depression. I turned to food as, you know, something to comfort me. And I realized that I was spiraling, right? Started working out again, kind of fell off of it. But this year I told myself it was my year of renaissance, right? That I was going to actively make the changes in all aspects of my life, including my health, including what my body looks like and what my body is capable of. And so I've been doing that. Now, did that mean that I was any less of a hard worker? No. I fucking worked 3 jobs, 2 of them that I love and 1 of them as a survival job to make sure that I'm able to continue doing what I love. So I go to the gym every single day after work. It doesn't matter what time I get off of work. It doesn't matter what things that I have going on after work, I go. But again, going back to assumptions, you looked at me and you made assumptions about laziness, about not caring about my health and things like that, when that's the complete opposite. I reached out, I got myself a trainer because I was like, I can't do this alone. And I told him straight up, these are the things that I want you to work on with me. I want to work on building mass, losing weight, but most importantly, consistency. And I feel like all of you guys can agree that that's what it is, right? Am I where I like ideally want to be yet? No. But I also learned that I needed to love myself as I am right now and build those tools so that when I get to where I'm going, I can enjoy it that much more. Because it's
I think they picked the fucking boss of the obese.
It doesn't have to be a labor of love. Some people who are overweight,
he's just on another level,
putting
bro.
the fork down, are they doing the things they need to do? If they spent 14 hours a week doing cardio and eating healthy, they would lose the weight. I spend 14 hours a week learning Spanish, even though I am horrible at it, but I'm trying my best. And if everyone else tried their best, we wouldn't see anyone morbidly obese on this planet.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I think you said it's like you're spending 14 hours doing Spanish. For me, you know, I still work out every week. I still prioritize my health, but there are other things in my life that do take
half the calories and you're going to be very skinny.
But that
guaranteed.
That's the whole thing.
I'm not saying you need to. I'm just saying no one should make excuses.
And that's why I think that's why we all sat.
I think that even if he were to go home and eat half the calories for like, he's still not going to see change. And the standpoint is he's still not going to see change that fast. That's my point. And so like the judgment that they are putting on is still going to be placed from now until that change is visually recognizable. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, Tevin, although like I do think that some people who I believe he wants to lose weight, right? I think Tevin wants to lose weight.
Yeah.
I do think that some people can very easily be like, I'm doing all of these things, but I'm not seeing the results that I want to see, or I'm at a plateau currently. It's not enough. And then they'll get that comment, or that person who, like Myron, is like, it doesn't matter. Right now, you look like a fat piece of shit. And they'll take that and be like, but I'm putting in all this work. How can you say that?
Yeah.
You just have to either disregard these people in general and be strong enough to not let, and just be strong enough to like not let that affect you, and that's it. So it doesn't matter.
You have to be stronger in your own mind for your own comments like that. You have to be able to know what is real and what's not too.
Yeah. But I do know some people who are overweight who are just like, well, I can't lose weight, but at least I am working out, which I think is a wrong. There's some wrong in that, but at least they are moving. You know what I mean? In hindsight. So
I think that in a way, and that's one thing I run into with some clients too, is I tell them, look, you want to yo-yo for 6 months and go through that fucking emotional roller coaster and have poor results, or do you want to just lock the fuck in, shut up, just do what you're supposed to do? I don't say shut up, but you know, for 8 weeks, 12 weeks to get that same amount of progress.
Tell them, bro. Tell them.
Yeah, well, and that's what I think it comes down to, exactly what you're saying. Like, it's not enough just to do it, right? You need to do it with intent. Number one. Number two, here's another shameless plug. These people are these individuals are actually perfect individuals for someone to hire a coach. I mean, truthfully, because the accountability, and that's why I actually commend Tevin, is he realized I have a piece that is missing. I have something that I cannot Either I don't have the know-how, I don't have the accountability, I don't have the time to think. And so I would argue that, okay, well, Greg is giving a solution. I think exactly what you're saying. No matter what you tell him to do, he's not going to be able to have that. He needs someone in his corner. He has a deficiency. He's saying he has a deficiency. Just like, Eric or Greg or coaching or being coached, right? Or being a bodybuilder. Like they have deficiencies and they ask for help. So I think at the end of the day, that's where they really need to shift their focus, is maybe looking also, you can't do this on your own.
Yeah, like in theory, yes, eating half the calories that you're eating at that current weight will work. It will get you to lose weight, but there should be a strategy tied to that.
Yes.
Because right now we already know, due to your experience and due to getting to know people like Tevin, they have fallen off before. So our goal is to like not let that happen.
And half is drastic. Half is drastic. If even,
bro, that's so drastic.
If you were to tell me I eat about 5,000 calories a day right now, you told me eat 2,500, bro, I would starve, bro. I would. I don't. Honestly, even during prep, maybe like peak week or 2 weeks out, I've gone around 2,500. But shoot, bro. So yeah, I don't think that's just that simple.
Which is crazy to me because I'm at 235 pounds and I eat 3,200.
Bro, and I weigh 235 now too.
Bro, that's insane, dude. That's so when you were here, what was your heaviest?
I think when I was there 2018 and 2019, I was like around 170.
Bro, I remember you doing 225 on bench, like a 25 and a 25.
Yeah. No, you remember we went to Zoo Culture, bro.
Bro, I talk about that story all the time.
Yeah, bro. Like I said, I made adjustments. That's why I always tell people, like, don't look at my physique now. Like, I've taken 20 years, right? I went to the gym starting at 12 years old when I was old enough to get a gym membership. My mom took me from the kids club to I have made every wrong mistake in the book. I've learned everything because I've done it. But yeah, dude, I am a testament to, you could spend a lot of time doing the wrong thing. A freaking load time doing that. But yeah, that's really funny. I would say regardless of my diving into the bodybuilding world the last few years, that it also was a change in my mentality on what I look at as a priority and what's important, that revolutionized my physique for sure.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. Honestly, man, I think that video, I think we pulled what we could from that video. There's more segments in here, but honestly, although Myron is great for controversy, I think that's enough. He does go on a lot of tangents. He does a lot of battles in there because obviously his way of delivering a very direct message, who kind of and also insult people at the same time. But I think we're good, man. Did you have anything else, bro?
No, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna tell JC right now to the last thing you said before. You said, I think we're done with this clip, to cut that out till now, and then just go ahead and say like, hey, I think that's it. Do you have any last minute things? And then I'm gonna say nothing, and then I'll cut to, hey, thanks for joining us and tune in. Sounds good. Okay. So yeah, you just start off with, do you have anything? Or that's the end of the video. Do you think you have anything to add?
Let's check the really quick. What else do they say?
Okay. Difference between this weight and if you gain 200 pounds.
Fitness in your life in a sustainable manner that might not encompass you losing a ton of weight.
Hey, yeah, let's watch freaking Tyler really quick.
Okay.
Because I think he makes a good point.
As I get older.
Oh, actually, this guy, and then we'll call it.
Okay.
I can keep going. I can stop. Hey, I was in the same boat as him.
All right, sweet. Freaking Abe.
All
right. I have one. Let's end off this with this last two gentlemen really quick. JC, I'm sure you'll go back and cut. I'll start it right now. Let's end off with these two gentlemen really quick, man.
Further. Yeah, you don't need to. It's all about balance from halfway there.
What about you? I just want to hear. I was gonna say I was in the same boat as him. I feel like myself. I feel comfortable with where I'm at right now. I've lost 100 pounds.
Congrats.
Oh yeah.
And I can keep going. I can step, but like doctor says, everything's fine with you. You are obese, but I will never forget. The doctor told me you're healthy obese, which was like blew my mind.
What? Healthy for being obese.
Yeah.
Fire that doctor.
Just one health condition to qualify under health insurance for a weight loss supplement for them. I didn't qualify. I had no high blood pressure, didn't have diabetes, didn't have anything else. So I was like, okay, well, I just want to lose weight because obviously as I get older, it's not going to be like that.
Go get a trainer.
But I mean, perfectly. I know I have the control to get where I'm at right now or where I want to be, but I I'm pretty happy. So
yeah, that's awesome. Again, I feel like what's sustainable is different for everyone, right? I think there's a way to weave in fitness in your life in a sustainable manner that might not encompass you losing a ton of weight. I think people kind of have different stages in life where they're focusing on different things, and I think that's something I can completely respect.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, as long as you know that you have the agency to actually make that change.
Yeah.
When the time comes, when you want to do it, like I don't see anything wrong with that.
I was very curious. Out of show of hands,
they're all gonna hire Tyler.
Who here feels like after spending time in this space, you feel like you're closer to understanding the other side than when we stepped in the room?
Myron.
Myron,
I understand it less. Literally, like
what's up?
Freaking Greg, dude. All right, man.
Yeah.
We're good at that video. Dude, a couple of final thoughts, man. Saying healthy obese, I think being obese objectively is not healthy. But I hear maybe what the doctor was trying to say is for being obese,
Yes.
bro, is you don't have all the expected things that would come with this. So like keep doing your thing, keep going. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And I do like what Tyler said. I mean, it takes you making the decision to cause the change, like we just discussed. So I think that's it for the video, man. Any final thoughts, Ian, at all?
Yeah. The healthy fat guy is kind of like saying, I'm a good drunk driver, you know, or telling someone you're a good drunk driver. So it's like, yeah, the delivery needs to be better. But I get what he was saying. No, man, honestly, I think overall it was a great video. I think it's good. It's an insight for people who maybe are more in our fitness sphere to better understand those who aren't and kind of be able to empathize and understand where they're coming from, but also for other for people on the obese side of the house or the side of the house that needs for their own health and well-being to lose weight, to also see, okay, yeah, there are some things that you can control, but overall, I think it does come down to your control. But I would argue that some of sometimes these people don't have that, and the accountability piece is where that comes into. So, no, great. Go ahead.
What's crazy to me is as much as Myron like dug at the fat people, right? The fat side of things, he did get kind of roasted. Essentially they called him out for, out of the 4 people there, he was the smallest, essentially. So they did like roast him, and I do think like I think it is funny that I hope that we can do that nowadays. Now actually I wish we could do it more nowadays, because nowadays there's a lot of, again, and there was a question about toxicity and whatnot. I think ultimately trying to see another person's perspective is going to do better for allowing you to understand where they come from and allow you to not place as much judgment in which would be harmful for most people anyways. So, all right, guys, how do I say this? My question for you guys, the viewer, is have you abused your body, and is your physique overall in your control? What are your thoughts? All right, take it away, Ian.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, guys, and see you on the next episode of Surf Straight with Papi and Sky.
And an epic explosion, bro.